It's time for Let's Talk with Tara. Tara is a counseling coach who addresses real issues that plague many women today. Issues like church hurt, disappointment, anxiety, depression, and many more. You will be inspired, educated, and empowered on how to receive the help and healing needed to move forward. If you have real issues, then Tara has real solutions. Let's talk with Tara.
All right, you guys, it is Monday midday and it's Let's Talk with Tara. I am Tara T. Stallings. I am your counseling coach, and today we are this is our podcast, and I'm just glad for everyone to be joining us. Today we're going to continue our series from my book, Ladies, my first book, Ladies, Let's Talk, Life, Lies, Love, and Relationships. To purchase my book again, you can go on my website at taratstallinsinc.com /talk shop, and you can purchase it there, or you can, of course, you can go on Amazon and purchase the book there. That's taratstallinsinc.com, and to the shop area, and you can purchase the book along with other things there. So let's get right into it, because these 30 minutes go so fast. So we have been talking from, again, my book, Ladies, Let's Talk, Life, Lies, Love, and Relationships. And today we're going to continue with that, with the conversation related to the chapter on love and relationships. Life, lies, love, and relationships. So let's talk about it today. And I'm just going to read directly from the book, and we're going to talk about it. It says, if you haven't heard the other podcast, you can find me at all my social media tags. Let's Talk Tara. Let's Talk Tara. Apple Podcasts, Google, Spreaker, iHeart, and Spotify. Okay, have to remember all of those. Let's get right into it. People only do to you what you allow. Now, we've heard that so often. People only do to you what you allow them to, and that's true. And people will argue and say, well, that's not true. People treat you the way that you allow them to treat you. They only do to you what you allow them to do to you. It's all about your presentation and what you accept from other people for whatever reason it is. If a person is abusive toward you, and today we're talking about love is not abusive. Before I go on, love is not abusive. That's our title today. Love is not abusive. Even though October is Breast Cancer Month, it's also Domestic Violence Month. It's also the month of domestic violence awareness. And especially during this time since the pandemic, we've seen a lot of things reported, but what we have not seen is the increase in domestic violence and suicide. There has been a tremendous spike in domestic violence since the pandemic. Now, we already knew that domestic violence was something, an epidemic, but even more it is now because of the pandemic. So let's keep going. If a person is abusive towards you or has an abusive personality, whether it's verbal, physical, or emotional, more than once, listen to me, they will be abusive again. So often, we as people overlook people's behavior. We make excuses for it. If a person has been abusive to you verbally, because there is verbal abuse, is almost just as worse as physical abuse. Emotionally, physically more than one time. Now, we know people have character flaws. We understand it. But I mean abusive. And we're going to talk about later what consists of abuse. More than one time, they're going to do it again. If you allow them to do it, that's what my first statement. People only do to you what you allow. If they know that you're going to say, they can, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it, this, and this, and you accept it and you overlook it, they're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. If they feel like you're afraid or they have some type of control over you, they are going to do it again. People only do to you what you allow them to do to you. Now, you guys, I have a lot of social media formats going on, so I want you guys, so if I'm looking here and there, it's because I have 2 or 3 things going on. For my podcasters, listen, I want to take my time. Abusive people increase in their abuse towards others. They never decrease. It's always an increase. If they did it one time, they're going to do it again. It's going to increase. It's not, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to ever do it again. It's always an increase in it. If you're dating someone and they are emotionally, physically, verbally abusive now, it's only going to increase the more the relationship increases. If you allow it. Life is in your control. People don't control your life. You control your life. And you have to realize that when you control your life and take control of your life, that the ball is always in your court. It's not in the other person's court. So you have to realize, I have control over my life, good, bad, or indifferent. And if you allow people to come in and be abusive to you, they will be abusive to you. For whatever reason. If it's sexual abuse, because abuse can be sexual. If they are, and I'm not talking, because I am not a man basher at all, because it's women that are abusers. One thing that's not listed is financial abuse. People can abuse you financially. They can only time they call you is when they need some money or they need you to dig them out of a ditch. That's abuse. If they have no other use for you, that's abuse. That's abuse. It is abuse. So we have to realize what is abuse. Sometimes we become, when I say we, people become enablers because, oh, well, they need help, or they had a bad childhood, or they have some things they're dealing with. Well, if this causing whatever their issues is, and if it's causing abuse to you, you need to let them figure out their issues. If they are not ready to get help with their issues, don't allow them to be abusive with you because of their issues. Then you become an enabler. And there's so many people walking around here, enablers, that are being abused by those that they love and those people that say they love you. Let's keep going. Abusive people are abusive because they have been abused. Now, that's a broad statement. Now, they may have not been abused physically, emotionally, and then sometimes they may have been abused in their own perception of what abuse is. I'm going to say that again. They may have been abused in their own perception of what abuse is. Because you've heard, hurt people hurt people. That's abuse. Sometimes people that have an abusive, hurt mindset are hurt or are projecting hurt or abusive behaviors toward other people because of their perception of what happened to them. And let me just kind of make sure I talk about that a little bit, because your emotions, your account of the experiences you have in your life are yours. Nobody can take them away. But I always share this. Make sure that your truth of your feelings and your experience and your perception of it is the truth. Say that again. Make sure that your truth of your experience, your perception of it, your hurt is the truth. Because we can have a perception of something, a circumstance, an experience that we have based on other things and other thoughts that may not necessarily be the whole truth. It's your perception of the truth. Let me give you an example of what I mean. You can have 5 people, let's say 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 people witness a car accident. 5 people. You're going to have 5 different accounts on what happened based on their perception. You're going to have 5 different accounts on what happened based on how they see it. Because just because you see something, how you perceive it is how you're going to respond to it. You can see it with your eyes, but depending on your mindset and your perception of life and experiences is how you're going to project it. So your truth may not always be the truth. So you want to make sure you check that. Just had to throw that in there because I want to make sure I'm clear in what I'm saying. So we said that abused people abuse because they have been abused, or they live with an abuser. That's another part. They have lived with an abuser or a hurt person, or they have a fear issue that they can only resolve. So that kind of covers all of it, because sometimes they may have a fear of something, and fear can make you. We have a fight or flight response system. We have either fight or we either fight, we're going to fight back, or we're going to run. And a lot of times people that their perception of things, when they are fearful, they try to control the situation from an abusive perspective. Control it. So you want to make sure that the people that you deal with, and even yourselves, because I want you to examine yourselves. I had to, and you know, I'm very transparent. I had my granddaughter over this weekend. She's 8 years old, and she's a little girl, and she's the personality of me. So I said, Lord, there's 2 of us in the earth realm. And she's very smart. She's very inquisitive. And I was sharing with her some things that I had been sharing with her. And she's 8. She's a little girl. And if anybody knows me, you know, I like to laugh, but I have a slick mouth sometimes. You know, what we call a slick mouth. I have a good comeback. And she gets that from me. She does. So I was sharing some things with her, and her comeback. And of course, when you have a child, 8, 9 years old, when you tell them something, they always, well, I can do this and I can do that. Well, I don't have to do this. Being a child. She was just being a child. She was being a child. And I said to her, I said, well, you know, I'm just trying to help you. And I said it just like I shook my head. I'm just trying to help you. If you don't want my help, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I had to catch myself. Now, mind you, I'm stressed. I'm tired. Some other things had gone on. And I had to catch myself. And I said, oh, my God. I'm acting like one of my parents used to act. And I was like, oh, I had to catch myself. And how it used to make me feel. And not just with my parents, it was control. I was using control to try to make her do something that I wanted. Not what she wanted. Or to get her to see something, that was correct. But the way I was doing it, I was using a form of abuse because control is abuse. That's all it is. It's abuse. If you're trying to control someone. And I had to, first thing I had to do, I had to repent. Because when I realized it, I was like, oh my gosh. I had to repent. And the next thing I did, immediately, I went in and I apologized. I apologized to her for trying to push something on her that I wanted for her. And in turn, when I apologized, she realized, her being she's a very smart little girl, realized, what was going on. She said, well, Grandma, I accept your apology. And then she said, well, next time when I come over, let's do A, B, C, and D. And it's all about your approach and your intent behind it. So you have to be understanding of, what's going on, why you're doing it, because if you don't, you can be abusive and you cause that to go on to other people. And I thought about it, I got convicted because when I was growing up, it would just bother me so much when one of my parents would do that to me. And it was a form of control. It was abusive because they were trying to control me and make me do something that even though what it was good, but they were trying to force me to do something that I wasn't mentally ready to do, didn't have an understanding of it. And then because they were trying to force it on me, it pushed me further away because of my personality. Everybody doesn't have that personality. So let's keep going. I'm going to read that over again. Abusive people are abusive because they have either been abused, they live with an abuser, or they have a fear that only they can resolve. You cannot help them. They have to recognize it. They have to seek help to resolve it. They have to recognize it. And they have to seek help to resolve it. In my case, with my story, I lived with a person, and when I use that word abuser, they weren't physically abusive. They used control, emotional, psychological, to try to control what they wanted me to do. And that's abuse. Again, that came from their parent, but I recognize it. So when you recognize something, you have to do better. Are you in an abusive relationship? Are you in an abusive relationship? If you are, you need to get out today. You need to recognize it for what it is. Recognize it for what it is, and you need to get out of that relationship today. Are you the abuser? Are you abusing people emotionally, psychologically, physically, verbally? Are you doing that? If you are, you need to seek help. Why are you abusive? Why are you trying to control? What happened to you? What are you dealing with, or what are you not dealing with to make you behave abusively? In a healthy relationship, you are relating to someone's needs. When I say relationships, that's intimate, friendship, family, work relationship, church relationship, any type of relationship. Any type of relationship. In a healthy relationship, you are relating to someone else's needs. These needs are communicated in various ways. Verbal communication, physical communication, emotional communication, and sexual communication. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. When one or more of these vital elements starts lacking or is missing in a relationship, this causes the health of the relationship to decline. Let me go back now. In a healthy relationship, you are relating to someone else's needs. You are. These needs are communicated in various ways: verbal, physical, emotional, sexual communication. When one or more of these vital elements starts lacking or missing in a relationship, it causes the health of the relationship to decline. When the health of the relationship begins to go down, you experience aches and pains in it. Listen, aches and pains in a relationships are displayed and manifest themselves in different ways, such as frequent arguing, progressive outside activities without the partner, and or emotional sexual infidelities. So these aches and pains can manifest different ways. Frequent arguing, they argue all the time. Progressive outside activities without the person. So that means you're doing stuff without the person. You're leaving them behind. You're in a relationship, but you're single. You're in a good friendship. You and your BFF, you start doing stuff. You're separated. You're not doing things with that person anymore. If you in an intimate relationship, emotional and sexual infidelities, because we think just because you have sex with somebody, it's just an infidelity. Well, you can be emotional infidelity. It's almost sometimes as worse as sexual infidelity, because when you attach to someone emotionally, you de-attach yourself to the person that you should be attached to, that you're in a relationship with. So you want to make sure you follow that. You want to check yourself when if you being abused or you are the abuser. You have to check yourself on those things. Let's keep going. When these relational aches and pains constantly go unanswered, unaddressed, it causes a major breakdown in the health of your relationship, resulting in a slow growing cancer. A slow growing cancer. I have heard from various people that a relationship is 50-50. Now we're talking about, and this could be any relationship now, business relationship, that you know relationships are 50-50, meaning that both parties contribute at least half of themselves, their efforts and abilities for the relationship to work. Now, how many people has heard that it's a relationship is 50-50? How many people has heard that? I know when I was growing up, I heard that so often. You know, you got to put half in, 50-50, it's 50-50. I have learned throughout life experiences that if you contribute 50% and your partner contributes 50%, you don't have a 100% relationship. If you giving half of yourself and they giving half of themselves, you don't have 100%. You only have two people giving half of themselves toward their relationship. You know, in math, we were taught that two halves make a whole. In relationships, two halves don't make a whole. You just have two halves. You just have two halves. You need 100%. When you only contribute half and leave the half of yourself, you leave the door open for someone else or something else to infiltrate the other halves of your relationship, causing this slow growing malignancy to eventually kill your relationships. So meaning, whatever type of relationship it is, you got to bring the whole into it. If it's a business relationship, you got to bring the whole of who you are into that relationship. If it's a friendship, you have to bring the whole of who you are into that friendship. If it's a intimate relationship, you have to bring the whole of who you are into that relationship. And I'm going to talk about that later on, because so many people don't understand what a good relationship is. The purpose of a relationship. We'll talk about that later. That's another whole subject. So let's continue, because 5 minutes we're going to be up. So when it comes to relationships, two halves don't make a whole. You must have two people contributing 100% to make the whole healthy relationship. In relationships, 1 and 1 does not equal 2. 1 plus 1 equals 1. Let me say that again. In relationships, 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. In relationships, 1 plus 1 equals 1. Now, biblically, if you in a marriage, it says the two shall become one. A marriage is a covenant. It's a contract. The two shall become one. Just like when you go into a partnership, whether it's a business, it may be 2 or 3 people, but it's one business. So if it's 2 people in a business partnership, it's not 2 separate people, it's one partnership. One. So the two become one. That's why when something goes down, they don't come after the separate person, they come after the one unit. So the 2 people becomes one unit, or however it is. If it's 2 or 3 people, whatever the relationship, it becomes one. When 2 people come together, committed relationship, friendship, business, church, whatever, they become one. So you need to be careful what type of relationships you become committed to. Because when you become committed to a relationship, what the other person does affects you. What you do affects them. Right, wrong, or indifferent. So you need to know who you are going into business, a committed relationship with, because you become one. The two shall become one. What's rubbing off on you, what's on them gonna be on you, and what's on you gonna be on them. That's a whole something else, but we don't have enough time to talk about that today. The most successful relationships are full of communication. Commitment and communication. The most successful relationships are full of communication, not talking. See, we think because we're talking, that's communication. Communication comes with commune together. That means you come together, you talk, you hear, you talk, and you connect, and you come to an understanding when you communicate. Commune means to come together as one. Commune means to come together as one. The more communication in the relationship, the fewer the altercations. The more you talk, there are going to be misunderstandings. People going to have character flaws. They're people. Talk about it, get an understanding, and move on from there. Effective communication is when there is an understanding between the persons that are communicating. I just said this. Talking to each other is not necessarily effective is not an effective commitment. By learning communication, but learning to listen, using the correct tone, and knowing the right timing attributes to effective communication. I'm going to say that again. Talking to each other is not necessarily effective communication. It's not effective. But learning to listen to hear and not listen to answer or respond, using the correct tone when you're talking, and knowing the right timing to communicate attributes to effective communication. Attributes to effective communication. We have been talking about love is not abusive today. We have to understand what is abuse. We talked about verbal, physical, emotional. I didn't put in spiritual, but there is spiritual abuse. I didn't add in psychological abuse. We didn't talk about spiritual abuse, but there is spiritual abuse. Control. Abuse is control. Abuse is built in fear. People are abusive, they may have come out of abusive, they may have been abused. They may have been with an abusive parent, a partner, or they may have a fear that's causing them to be abusive. If that's you today, if you're in an abusive relationship, it's time to re-examine it. It's time to re-examine your relationship and to see, am I an abuser, or am I being abused? This has been Monday Midday. Let's Talk Tara. This is my podcast. Love is not abusive. I am Tara T. Stallings. I am a counseling coach, a life coach, a counseling life coach. I am a consultant, entrepreneur, businesswoman, a whole lot of other things. But most of all, I'm a woman of God, and I'm here to help. Join me every Monday midday. Let's Talk Tara. You can find me on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker podcast at Let's Talk Tara. We have been sharing excerpts from my first book, Ladies Let's Talk, Life, Lies, Love, and Relationships. Life, Lies, Love, and Relationships. You can purchase my book at TaraTStallingsInc.com or Amazon.com. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today for Monday Midday. If you missed any of the other podcasts, you can surely go on and listen to them. Until next Monday, don't forget to join me and Melody Manning at Inspired by Melody every Tuesday here live for Talk Therapy. You can find us at Talk Therapy on Facebook or either one of our platforms. Make sure you join us. We're going to have a hot topic where we talk real, raw, and relevant. Until then, we'll see you guys later.
You have been listening to Let's Talk with Tara. We hope you've enjoyed this show. Remember, if you have real issues, then Tara has real solutions. Thanks for stopping by. See you next week.